Simba and I absolutely love hot hatchbacks, don't we, mate? Yes, we do. And in this video, I'm going to talk you through 5 particularly rare ones that you can buy for under £10,000 that I think are absolutely stunning. So no faff, let's get straight into it. Let me know in the comments down below what your personal favourite ever hot hatchback is. Hit the like button, subscribe as well if you're new. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so hear me out on this one. Sometimes the brilliance of a hot hatch is not based on how fast it gets from 0 to 60 and that feeling you get when you plant your foot and you're thrust into the back of your seat. Sometimes the brilliance of a hot hatch is in it being that perfect original formula that cars like the original Golf GTI, the Peugeot 205 GTI and equivalent cars had. Being small, lightweight, nimble and with the Goldilocks amount of power to make sure that you are always foot to the floor. That's what the VW Lupo GTI offers, a classic formula for hot hatch ownership while also being a pretty rare car with just 465 of them on the roads here in the UK as of 2022. As I said, it's not a fast car, far from it in fact, with its little 1.6 litre inline-4 engine making just 123 brake horsepower, which will get it to 60 in 8 seconds, but the rest of that formula is stunning. If you're a fan of the Up GTI today, the Lupo GTI is effectively the predecessor, and while the Up gets great reviews, the Lupo actually has more power and a faster 0 to 60 time despite being that much older. Aesthetically, it's a great looking car. I love the central exit twin exhaust at the rear, the typical GTI formula on the interior, and the nice aggressive body kit it gets. And it's easy to see why it's garnered such a strong cult following today. I'm biased of course because I love my Polo, but I love the circular headlights too, very iconic. £5,000 is around the minimum you'll need to spend to get into one of these now, and for just over our 10k limit you'll find this stunning example with low mileage and original parts, which is pretty cool as many people have modified these over the years. It's generally very reliable too, but worth checking whether the car is burning oil, as this can be a telltale sign of scratched bores, and blown valve stem seals are also known on high mileage examples. Now the Renault Clio RS is not a particularly rare car, but the Cup version with the stiffer chassis and greater track focus is definitely a cool and rare car with just 265 here on the roads in the UK and some very cool spec options from factory if you look hard enough and know what you want. The Cup's stiffer chassis of course makes it more pointy on track or B roads, but the speccable Recaro bucket seats and removable luxuries like climate control, cruise control, Isofix mountings, keyless entry and more comfortable materials used throughout can bring the weight down by 40 kilograms if you are really serious about getting a car that's quicker. Personally, if I was going for a fun daily driver, I'd have a collection of those features, not all of them, but some would definitely increase general quality of life, considering I'm not always out on track. But less about me, the Clio Cup comes with a 2 litre inline-4 engine that makes 197 brake horsepower, which will get it from 0 to 60 in 6.6 seconds. Compared to the previous 197 generation or the pre-facelift, owners and reviewers alike both agreed on one thing: it was way more hot hatchy in the way that it drives. It puts to better use some of that F1 technology that's gone into stuff like brake cooling and downforce, making it a genuinely great car for someone who wants a daily but also plans to get into a bit of track driving at a safe speed in a car that provides a lot of fun and confidence. These start at around £7,000, and for £10,000 you'll be looking at getting a 2011 example with around 60,000 miles on the clock, which is not bad at all considering the performance. Reliability is great from the engine on these, but they do have 2 key problems to be aware of, which can run you up some pretty hefty bills. The first is the cam belt, which you should make sure you replace before schedule if you don't want to risk larger problems, and the second is the gearbox, which some owners have referred to as chocolate because of the 2nd to 3rd synchros being a common failure at all mileages. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Quick reminder, in the comments down below, let me know what your personal favourite ever hot hatchback is, ever, across classics and new ones. Let me know what it is in the comments down below. And if you want to see another video on rare hot hatchbacks for under £5,000, get this video to 1,000 likes and I will make that video. Of all the cars on this list, this car is the one I would have, hands down. It's the best looking, the best sounding, the most emotive, and just one of the coolest hot hatches at this price range in my humble opinion, of course. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments down below. The Alfa Romeo 147 GT8 has a masterpiece of an engine up front, the 3.2 litre Busso V6 block that puts out 246 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 6.1 seconds, which isn't ridiculously quick either, but but again, this car is more about the emotion it gives you rather than just planting your foot and going as fast as you can in a straight line. Plus, it's pretty rare, with just 186 on the roads here in the UK right now. There is a set of rules for going one of these, and that's to have one that's been looked after properly, as though they aren't known to have loads of major issues. Lack of love can be a problem, as some have been known to overheat, and areas around the suspension, particularly on the front end, will be hugely worn by now if they haven't already been changed, given that nice big block up front. You should also aim to get one with the Q2 LSD, as it massively uprates the handling of the car compared to those with the open diff, and gets rid of a bunch of the understeer that comes from having a front wheel drive, big front engined car. Now, some people will disagree with this, but on the spectrum of V6 hot hatches, I think it comfortably sits alongside cars like the Mark IV Golf GTI, and may even hold a candle to the Clio V6, which of course is a far more cherished collector's car, but the 147 GTA gives you a slice of that for a much lower price tag. It was also Romain Grosjean's first car, so make of that what you will. £9,000 is about the lowest you'll get one of these for, and for £10,000 you'll be getting into a 2004 model with around 90,000 miles on it. When Mazda put their mind to making nice fast cars, they often deliver, and that's exactly what they did with the Mazda3 MPS, and I'm talking about both generations, considering the second gen was effectively an extensive facelift of the first gen. I would say it's a highly underrated hot hatch, with its 2.3 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine that makes 256 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds, which isn't too bad at all for a hot hatch in this price range, particularly one that's relatively rare, with just 835 total across both generations. If you're not in the UK, you might know the MPS as the Mazda Speed 3 or the Excella, and the facelift I mentioned between generations also came with a few key extras, like the modified ECU that made for a better power curve, as well as a better LSD, better gear ratios, stronger brakes, and better overall stability for handling purposes. Where the first gen also had a fair bit of heat soak, the second gen got a new and actually useful bonnet vent to serve the top mounted intercooler. On top of all of that, it got new pistons and a bit of extra weight too from some of those features. It really was a retune of the original car to massage out some of the main problems and make it the best car it could be, which almost always makes for a good outcome. To get one in your garage, you need to spend a minimum of around £5,000, and 10 grand will get you a nice 2011 example with around 60,000 miles on it. On reliability, turbocharger failure is known as a result of oil contamination, but outside of that it's pretty good. I mentioned heat soak in first gen cars too, but rust is also known in those earlier models, so it is definitely worth looking for a post facelift example if your budget will stretch to it. Taking the top spot in this video is a car that again gets massively overlooked, in part due to it being so incredibly polarizing on release. After many years of making the hallowed Impreza with its many WRX and WRX STI variants, no one expected the sudden shift to a hot hatchback version of the car, but with the World Rally Championship trending in the direction of shorter, more nimble cars, Subaru followed suit with their contender, changing entirely the fabric that made the old Imprezas so popular. That rally car also wasn't very successful, as it wasn't ready for the start of the 2008 season, so the team ran the old car for the first part and it never won a rally, with the best result being second thanks to rallying legend Petter Solberg. It sounds like I'm bashing the car, which I sort of am, because there's one other problem with these: reliability. That engine is renowned for head gasket failure, which is not what you want to hear. But with all that in mind, you cannot argue with the performance of this car as a road weapon, as it has a 2.5 litre turbocharged boxer 4 engine that makes 295 brake horsepower, which will take it from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, which is actually pretty rapid for any car under 10k. It's also pretty rare, with just 668 on the roads today in the UK. As is often the case, if possible, find yourself a JDM import instead of the UK example, as it got the 2 litre twin scroll turbocharged engine instead, which put out more power, revs beautifully, and is far more reliable. Plus it's the same block that was used in the homologation examples. Either way, outside of the engine, it's actually quite a nice car with some properly cool features like that wider, more aggressive stance, matched with the body kit, and a bunch of intelligent driving modes which also pair with an intelligent LSD setup that you can control from being fully open to fully locked. £9,000 is about the minimum you'll need to spend to get into one of these though, and for £10,000 you'll be looking at a 2010 model with around 100k on it. So that is 5 cheap and rare hot hatchbacks you can buy for under £10,000, and a particularly good set if you ask me. Thanks for watching, and thanks to the patrons for their support as always. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. But that's not where hot hatchbacks end on this channel, so if you want to have a look at a bunch of hot hatches for young drivers, then click up here and click down here to subscribe.